Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about the heart. I know, everyone's favorite, incredible. I feel like if we're being real, the heart is one of those things that you hear about so much and you know it affects you, but you don't really know how or what it is or how to guard it or why you need to guard it. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I feel like a lot of times we are so quick to focus on behavior modification instead of heart transformation, because I really believe that if God has our hearts, then he will transform them and our behavior will be transformed as a result, and we will want to do things to please him, and we will want to do things in line with what he's called us to do because our hearts understand that. So yes, the heart. My inspiration for this video and a lot of the points that we're going to be talking about come from this sermon by Todd called Watch the Throne. Pause. Y'all, I love Todd so much. He's my favorite preacher. I learned so much from him. I really encourage y'all to go check out his sermons. He teaches at Transformation Church. I've grown so much by following along with his ministry. Okay, unpause. We can go back to the topic of today's video. So the analogy that he uses for the heart I thought was brilliant, and it's really just stuck with me. And so he uses the analogy of like the captain and like a spaceship from Star Trek. Y'all, I didn't grow up with Star Trek or Star Wars. I don't get the difference in them. I don't know what they are, but I promise this analogy works. And honestly, just to keep things easy for me, we're just gonna use a ship in general, right? Just like a ship in general, because whether it's a spaceship or a ship, there's a captain of the ship, right? And the captain controls the ship, and the captain has vision for the direction that the ship is going. He has vision for the course of the ship. He knows what the journey entails. And so he's the only one that knows where the ship is going and how to get it there and what it takes to get it there, right? And so everyone else that works on the ship, the captain kind of gives commands in terms of what to do, in terms of like, steering the ship, or, in Star Trek, there's like the control center, and the captain yells out different things for different people in different parts of the control center of what to do. And so kind of following through with that analogy, he kind of made up this kind of diagram, which I thought was brilliant and incredible. So I'm going to zoom in on that here. The lighting's being kind of weird with me, so if you can't see it when I zoom back out, I'm sorry. I'm still going to talk about it. Sorry. But yes, so we have the captain as the center, right? And the kind of working people on the ship, in terms of our hearts, are our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, our character, our intellect, our conscience, and our will. So the captain is the one that tells all these things what to do, that controls all these things, right? And ideally, we wouldn't say as Christians that the captain of our ships, of our hearts, is God. But let's be real, we are imperfect humans. And sometimes we allow God to be, the one that's controlling our hearts. And sometimes we allow our emotions, or sometimes we allow relationships, or sometimes we allow our friends, or whatever it is, to be the ones that control our hearts. But the thing is, if it's not God that is influencing everything else, none of those things know the direction that our hearts are supposed to, none of those things know the direction that our lives are supposed to go. So anything else that is on the throne of our hearts, pause. I say the throne because the title of the sermon is called Watch the Throne. And so he's like, hey, whatever is on the throne of our hearts, like we will worship what's on the throne, right? Like you worship like a king, right? So if the king is not the one that's on the throne of our hearts, then we've got it all wrong. We've got it all messed up, right? So the reason why it's so important for God to be the one that's on the throne is because he made us. He knows us. He is good. He knows what we need to do. He knows where we need to go because he is our creator. He has the vision for our lives. But if we allow anything else that doesn't have that vision, that has sort of a nearsighted vision of our future, then that's going to lead us to chaos and destruction and pain and heartbreak. So yes, it's so important to make sure that God is the one that's in control, because a lot of the actions that we do, whether they're good or bad, stem from what is in our hearts and what's being pumped into our hearts. So let's say school is the thing that is on the throne of your heart, that is the captain of your heart, then everything you do and everything that you're feeling is going to be a result of how you do in school. So your, emotions, if you do bad on a test, you're just going to feel horrible about yourself. You're going to feel like, oh, your life is over. Oh, you're so horrible. But no, when God is saying like, hey, I have good things for you, it's okay. Character. If school is the one that's on the throne of our hearts, then our character is going to go out the window if we're so obsessed with getting an A in a class that we feel like we have to lie or cheat or throw integrity out the window. Then our character is going to be affected. Let's say, honestly, lust. Let's say lust is the captain of your heart. A lot of people struggle, we all to some degree struggle with lust. And if that is what's on the throne of your hearts, then everything that you do is going to be a result of that. We're so quick to say like, oh my gosh, she's so horrible for having done that with that guy. But it didn't start with the action. It started in her heart. It started in the heart and saying like, oh my gosh, like I'm so single. I'm so like thirsty. I need someone. And like going off of that and not allowing God to be the one that's in control and knowing that God will bring the right person at the right time. We take things into our own hands, we take matters into our own hands and we act out. And there are always consequences when we do things outside of God's design because He's good and He has an order for things. Jeremiah 17 verse 9 talks about the heart being wicked and deceitful. We hear so many times in popular culture, follow your heart. The heart wants what it wants. No, don't follow your heart if God is not the one in control of it, because you're just going to lead yourself down a path of heartbreak and pain. But if God is the one that's the captain of it, then we can trust that He is good, and we can trust that everything else will follow suit. That's why it's so important to guard our hearts. Proverbs 4:23 talks about guarding our hearts because from it flows everything that we do. Another translation says the course of our life, flows from us guarding our hearts. And I think that's so cool with this whole ship analogy and captain, because we know that a captain knows the right way to steer the ship. We need to make sure our hearts are guarded, because whatever we are allowing into our hearts is going to steer us, is going to steer our emotions, it's going to steer our lives. And it's so easy for us to put anything else but God on the throne. And if anything but God is on the throne of our hearts, if anything but God is controlling what we do, then that thing is an idol. And I'm going to do another video on idolatry later on, so don't worry, we're going to talk more about that and unpack it. But yes, it's important to guard our hearts, because from it flows everything that we do. And man, we are so quick to allow anything in, but we need to be more guarded with what we are allowing in and with what we are allowing to control us. And oftentimes we can tell if God is really the captain of our ships because our behavior will follow through, right? And so not to say that, oh, we're perfect, we're never going to mess up. But a lot of times if we feel like our emotions are controlling us, or, XYZ is controlling us, it's because more than likely God is not the one that has that priority, that has that top spot in our heart. A lot of times as girls, we hear guard our hearts when it comes to relationships, when it comes to boys. But it's not just about boys, it's about everything, because it's so easy for us to be distracted. And the enemy knows that, and he wants to keep us distracted. So bottom line, make sure to guard your heart and to watch what you are allowing to control what you do. Because what you're allowing to control you is the direction that you're going to go. And everything else is going to follow suit from there. So I love you guys. Have a good one.